South African rand fell to its weakest level in over a year on the back of a recently discovered new COVID variant and a new UK travel ban for Southern Africa. The local unit lost a further 2.15% against the dollar on Friday morning as markets in Asia responded to the news. The UK and Israel have temporarily banned flights from South Africa and 5 neighboring Southern African countries as a precautionary measure. CEO of Alpha African Advisory, Sanyade Okoli, joins us to discuss. So many stories are throwing at you today. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. What do you make of what's happening? So, can South Africa catch a break? And what do you think is going to be the impact of this new variant?
It's tough, as you can imagine, because they just feel like they keep appearing on the red list, and not too long after coming off that red list. But then, if you look at it from the UK's perspective, for example, you can understand why they are trying to take a very decisive position at this time. Because if you, as you know, look at the news, the FT, etc., lots of stories today about concerns about this new variant, which stems from Southern Africa.
Yep.
And that concern is across many different countries, and people wanting to ensure they put the shutters up sooner rather than later, rather than dealing with it after the horse has bolted, which has been in the past the case.
Gosh, it's something else. We'll have to see how things turn out. Yeah, those are the 6 nations there, Southern African nations that have been put on that red list. All right, let's move to India now, and or rather Kenya, and these curbs that the Indian government is looking to place. Do the farmers in India have a case, in your view, a protectionist case, maybe?
Well, if you look at it, what they are saying is that Kenyan tea, Nepalese tea are being blended with Indian tea and is essentially passed off as Indian tea.
Yeah.
And what's been happening is, of course, Kenyan tea has been cheaper. So Kenyan tea blenders have been buying this cheaper tea, and the Indians are saying that the quality of some of the teas they're getting from Kenya is actually a lower quality. So they risk negatively impacting the reputation of Indian teas. That's essentially the nub of the matter.
Is this, Kenya is not going to like that, I assume. Would it possibly lead to any type of friction between India and Kenya?
Well, the interesting thing is the Kenyan tea market has been going through some of its own difficulties itself, because they ramped up production. They reached a stage where it was almost like excess production. Prices started going down. So the Kenyan Tea Board had to then come up with new minimal pricing levels to be able to protect the small holders, because they were having to sell below the cost of production. Because, of course, production costs have been going up,
right,
because wages have been going up. So there's a lot already going on within the Kenyan tea market. But suffice you to say that the price of Kenyan teas is going up,
right,
which reduces some of the issues that the Kenyan tea farmers have been dealing with.
I want to ask you, what is it, because we're looking at top tea exporting countries in 2020, right? And Kenya is above India. What does this say about having a diverse exports for your foreign exchange?
Kenya is lower than India, but Kenya, the growth of export has been faster than India, and that is their concern. And
sorry, that's actually an error. That's India figure is 692 million. Sorry, it's million. It's 692 million. So Kenya is in second place. But and so is it the Sri Lanka. Yeah, the Sri Lanka is also a billion as well. Yeah. So top 3. But as far as when we think about it, in Nigeria, other African nations that are too, I guess depending on oil and so on. Well, what's your take on having a diverse range of exports to be able to ship out to other countries?
Having that diverse range is actually an imperative. So I ask myself the question, why would Kenyans feel that they have to pass off their tea as Indian tea? Is the issue quality? Is the issue branding? Why can they not actually go out there and sell enough of their Kenyan tea, branded as Kenyan tea, so they don't have this tension with India?
That's a very good question, though. Keeping the matter with Kenya and now with South Africa, what do you make of Uhuru Kenyatta going to South Africa and wanting to engage a South African company to improve their rail network?
Well, I must admit, when I saw the headline, I had to do a double take because I thought, do we mean South Africa? Do we mean China? What is going on here? This is unusual. So it jumps out at you, right?
Yeah.
It's good. I'm pleased to see it.
Yeah.
It makes a refreshing change. No disrespect to India, but it makes a refreshing change.
Right.
And if South Africa is in the position to do so, then why not?
Right. And we don't get to talk about China for once, being involved in infrastructure in an African nation. Kenyatta was also in Pretoria to try to reduce the trade imbalance, if you will, between Kenya and South Africa. It is really lopsided. Yeah, so there it is. Exports to South Africa, 33 million. Look at the imports. Can that gap be closed? What do you think?
Well, I don't want to say, when you think about imports and exports, aside from global GDP rising, it becomes a zero-sum game, doesn't it?
Okay.
Because if I already consume tea, for example,
and
I'm already consuming Indian tea,
okay,
and Kenyan increases their production significantly,
yes,
I am not necessarily going to increase my consumption of tea because Kenya's production has gone up.
Gotcha.
I will, I might increase it a little, maybe because it's cheaper, etc.
Yeah.
So the question is, as Kenya seeks to increase its exports to South Africa, who will South Africa be importing less from?
Right. It's got to be made up somewhere else, right?
Yes.
That difference has to be made up.
Yes, and it's also about, can they do so competitively? Because at the end of the day, South Africa will buy from whoever they believe is offering value for money.
Gotcha.
And if Kenya is the one offering value for money, then they'll buy from Kenya.
Gotcha. So along those lines, well, I'm not sure if I think we've talked about this in the past. We must have. The African Continental Free Trade Area, while we're having all these trade talks on tea and all these other things, how do you see that working out for the continent? I mean, when you think of all these intricacies between these different countries, how do you think it's going to work?
I would like to say that I remain hopeful.
Yeah? Positively hopeful, yeah?
I will be hopeful, but what I will say is that I would like to see less talk about what this Continental Free Trade Zone agreement is going to achieve, and more talk about the steps being taken by the governments to pull down some of those barriers and the actual gains being experienced today. A lot of the talk is still too futuristic and not enough focus on what do we need to be doing today.
Is there a risk that what we're seeing with Kenya and India on the tea matter could be replicated across, where some African nations that are trading with others could be substituting this and that, then the trade bodies in one African nation get worried? Because that's, I think, what delayed Nigeria in signing up for the AFTA for so on. They were afraid of goods being dumped here. So, I mean, those are the early teething problems. Could that, is that a wrinkle there that could,
Again, my point is, if I buy potatoes from somewhere today, and I change who my supplier is, somebody's going to be affected.
Gotcha.
But then it goes back to this whole point of competition, right?
Right. Competitive advantage.
Commerce is about competition.
Right.
So we just need to ensure that we are as competitive as we can be with all these different goods and services that we're trying to trade within the continent.
Gotcha. About a minute ago, pharmaceuticals in Nigeria. Can global partnerships with foreign companies improve what we have here in Nigeria?
Reuters, a lot of things can improve.
With global partnerships.
The question is, what are we doing?
Right.
We've got to do more and take the necessary steps. So right now, part of why we might not be producing as much as we can do is, the infrastructure challenges that we're all familiar with, etc. Can we start ticking those lists and making it easier for local and international companies to partner to do more manufacturing of everything here in Nigeria?
You know what? This is going to be fascinating stuff as the AFTTA,
Absolutely.
develops. Having you on to talk about what happens, because this trade is always it's a fascinating topic. CEO of Alpha African Advisory, Sanyade Okoli, as always, thank you so much for joining us.